About a little over a year ago, Silver Quill did a video where he talked about how much Rarity had improved from her initial appearance to what she is now. He also did a video on Rainbow, not once but twice. And, of course, he wasn't the only one. Brony Notion also did a video on Rainbow, but he did one that kind of made him question the fact of whether or not Rainbow Dash deserved her element of loyalty. Well, I want to try to address a few of these as best I can, if not as quickly as I can, because I got the house to myself right now, so I need to do it as quickly as possible because I don't know when my family is going to be back. So, anyway, let's talk about Rarity first of all. The one thing that Brony Notion brought up, not Brony Notion, but Silver Quill brought up was the fact that when Rarity first appeared, not a lot of people, not even himself, was too enthusiastic about the character. Pretty much she, at first in the eyes of a lot of fans, represented this stereotypical fashionista who loved high society, high class. Love was much more. It was basically your common overall diva. That's basically how she was first looked at, as being your typical stereotypical diva, if you will. But lo and behold, as seasons passed, Rarity's character went through something that a lot of people say characters in television shows don't always go through, and that is character development and growth. And what I mean by character development and growth, Rarity basically proved the notion, if you will, basically proved the old saying and the old notion kind of true. And that is, you can't judge a book by its cover. Because if you judge a book by its cover, 9 out of 10 times you'll end up being wrong about what it's about. Or, what it's about, or who it's about, or who they are. And that's kind of like with Rarity. She was basically, when she first appeared, a lot of fans, like Silver Quill and like maybe Firebrand and Brony Notion and a few others, basically felt that she was just going to be that stereotypical diva that had been portrayed through generations. But surprisingly, she wasn't. Instead, she was portrayed as a character that, even if she is a fashionista, if you will, basically a fashionista, an inspiring fashionist, if you will, fashion designer, she proved that she's more than that. One of the questions that anybody gets, or anybody asks when it comes to the characters being assigned with certain elements, is do they deserve their elements? One thing Brony Notion brought up with Rainbow Dash was, does she deserve the element of harmony? Not harmony, but the element of loyalty. He brought this up a few seasons ago, not knowing how much she might change. But here's the thing. All of the main 6 acquired their elements in the pilot. Why? Because they had showcased exactly what I believe Celestria and the Tree of Harmony already knew. That each of these characters possessed that certain element inside of them, even despite the fact that they may act differently than what the element represents. For example, with Rarity, she was given and earned the element of generosity by doing something that when you first see her, you wouldn't expect her to do. But yet she did, and that is she sacrificed her tail to, make a character like Steve Magnet feel better. You see, Steve Magnet, before he was Steve Magnet, was basically an obstacle for the main 6 to overcome. But what was noticeable is that he was missing half his mustache because Nightmare Moon had cut it off. And that put him in such a state of depression and anger that it was Rarity that realized that the only reason he's upset is because of this. I know how to fix it. And she, instead of probably just whipping something up right then and there, decides to sacrifice her tail and attach it to him, and allow it to be attached in place of his missing mustache, of the other half of his mustache. Thus, by doing so, she had earned the element of generosity, which in turn, at the end of the first episode, also allowed her to regain or get back her tail that she sacrificed. Rainbow Dash was put onto an obstacle with the shadow bolts. Rainbow Dash was given the element of loyalty to test her loyalty to her friends, with the shadow bolts representing what she inspired to be, and that's a Wonderbolt. But here's the thing. Even despite how Rainbow might be written sometimes in episodes and in comics, she has proven to be loyal, and she has proven to be loyal at most times, and this was one of the reasons she got that element, because she basically resisted the temptation to be part of this group and stay with her friends. That showcased her loyalty. The same with the other characters. Pinkie Pie got her element because she was able to provide laughter during this journey. Applejack was given honesty because she was honest with Twilight and I guess the rest of the main six throughout. And Fluttershy showed kindness even to the smallest of creatures. Thus, she was given the elements. Thus, they had earned their elements. Now, true, like Brony Ocean pointed out, when it came to Rainbow Dash's loyalty element, during one of the miniseries finales, one of the two-part season finales, he was temporarily given the element of loyalty, but it went back to Rainbow Dash. Why? Because even though Spike is loyal, he doesn't need an element to prove it. The elements, in a sense, are like tests, are like, they're kind of like, the elements are basically like a gold medal. They're basically like a medal. They are earned basically because of the fact that each one proved to be exactly what that element represented. Now, Rarity, getting back to her, proved generosity not just with the sacrificing of her tail, but she proved it throughout the seasons. She proved it in season 1 at times. She proved it in season 2, season 3, 4, 5. She proved it throughout the entire time, throughout the entire run. And at the same time, she proved through these acts of generosity that she was also growing as a character. She was also growing as a character. And what that means is by growing as a character, she also showed that just because at first she was basically proving that at first, when you first see her, that she may be somewhat of a diva, that she's more than that. She's a lot more. She's willing to give other ponies and creatures a chance despite how they may look on the outside, because to her, they may look geeky, nerdy, whatever you want to call it, but on the inside, they might be beautiful, and they just need the right look for them to bring that out. Basically, Rarity does not really judge. Is not really somebody that likes to judge. True, some people might say that one of her faults is manipulating other characters to do something for her, or to do something for her, or whatever. But let's not forget, Rarity herself has fell victim to manipulation as well. But it's through her falling victim to the manipulation that she's able to see the truth. She's able to come around and realize that that's not how she should be doing things or how things should be done. Good example is when she tried to be part of the high society and class of Canterlot, but just because she wanted to be it, just because she was allowing herself to be manipulated by what the high society and the high class had to offer in Canterlot, just because she's been just because she was being manipulated by it, it also allowed her to open her eyes and realize, I can't be this way towards my friends. If I do this, then I'm not worthy of being generous. I'm not worthy of this. I'm not worthy of that. She basically allows herself to have her eyes open wide to the truth. The same for, I think, Made in Manhattan, where basically when she's showing off some of her designs, she realizes her friends are not there, and that through the rainbow power opens up her eyes and makes her realize that just because she's achieved this dream, she wouldn't be able to achieve it without the help of her friends. And that her friends have always been there for her, and that she's always been there for them, for her friends, and they've always been there for her, and yet they're not there. It's basically she's waking up and realizing she's allowed herself to be manipulated by success or this and that, and it takes certain moments to wake her up. It really does. It takes moments for her to wake up. Now, some might say when she manipulated Spike to give up his fire gem that he wanted to eat for his birthday, it wasn't entirely a manipulation. No. See, she kind of basically, she flirted with him a little bit to kind of get it from him. But here's the thing. Spike at first wasn't willing to give it up. He was still determined to eat the thing. And the only reason Rarity was in the location at the time was because Twilight had agreed to help her find some books to get some future fashion ideas. That's why she was there. That's why she was there at the time. And the story plays out itself. But again, did she manipulate Spike a little bit? Possibly, but she didn't do it to a point that Spike automatically just said, yes, whatever you say, boom. No. Spike strong-willed himself for a while, for the moment, to basically say, no, I want to eat this. This is what I've been planning. And basically, it's like all the manipulation did was make him consider it, make him think about it. Spike could have easily could have stood his position, but this is where people say Spike, this is where Brony Notion kind of spoke up about Spike possibly being another bearer of the element of harmony. This fact that Spike was willing, after consideration, Spike willingly, out of loyalty to his friends, and gave up the fire ruby to Rarity. That, out of loyalty to his friends, and maybe more so, more so out of his crush, if not love for Rarity, he gave it to her. He didn't have to do that. He could have easily said, no, I'm going to stand my ground, and that's it. And Rarity is the kind of character that you may think she'll whine and cry, and maybe that's true, but she's also the kind that after a while will kind of let it go. Be like, okay, I tried, I'm not going to get it, that's fine. If it means that much to him, that's fine. No big deal. But what happened was the fact that what I think made Spike realize that it meant more to Rarity than to him, or it meant as much to Rarity as much as it meant to him, was, yes, his love and crush for Rarity played a key role, but he realized that he has so many other jewels out there that he could snack upon on his birthday if he wants to. And that this is something that's only once, and that basically this is a jewel that's like a once in a lifetime or once in a while kind of jewel that that you don't see every day. Altogether, that kind of helped Spike make the decision to sacrifice give it up, basically sacrifice the ruby and give it to Rarity. Because I think what dawned in his mind, even though we don't see it, is I think he kind of remembered what Rarity did when they first met. How she gave up her tail and she didn't have to. Even though that's not indicated, I'm sure that played a bit on his mind. I know I'm talking about this a lot, but the point I'm trying to make is, yeah, she did manipulate him a bit, and he did consider it, but the thing is, he didn't automatically give it to her. No, he stood his ground for a bit, but then as he questioned it and even asked her if she really thought it was this gorgeous and really thought it was this special, despite his intentions of what he wanted to do with it, that's what kind of made him realize, you know what, Rarity actually could benefit more from this because if it's everything she says it is, and it's sort of like one of those jewels that you see once in a lifetime, that you, like I say, you see once in a lifetime or once in a great while, then maybe it should be kept safe. Maybe someone should keep it safe and keep it around without, any kind of distraction, without any kind of temptation for someone like him to, have it for lunch. So that's why he gave it to Rarity when you think about it. When you get down to it, he could have at first stood his ground, but then I think he realized the same thing that Rarity was pointing out. Flirting or manipulative or not, that this was something that was a once in a while, if not once in a lifetime gem that you don't see every day. So, Rarity may have been manipulative, but it wasn't to the point that it affected Spike right at first. It didn't. Because he stood his ground for a bit. Now, when it comes to the delivery pony in Rarity Investigates, that's another story, but as some people said, and even Rarity said it herself in the episode, all she was doing through her manipulation was complimenting the guy and kind of complimenting and understanding the delivery pony's situation and status as to where he was as far as his orders went. And all she did through the manipulation was encourage him to try at least find the time to fit in a reordering or redoing of her order. That's all she did through the manipulation. Yes, Silver Quill is right. If you see, Silver Quill is right. Kids should not manipulate others just to get what they want, even if the manipulation doesn't work at first. They shouldn't do that. But the way it's written for Rarity is, yes, she is manipulating, but she's doing it for a reason. She's doing it for a good reason, for a good cause. Now, like I said, does she fall victim to her own manipulation? Absolutely. Absolutely she does, like I mentioned. The high society deal. The inspiration manifestation. Did I mention? Made in Manhattan, I think. All examples of her falling victim to manipulation, only to have her eyes woken up, only to have her eyes opened up at the truth and making her come back to reality. But again, Rarity is that kind of a character that throughout these 6.5 seasons has really grown in personality and in character. You see, when it comes to someone like Spike, you take a look at the very episode that I mentioned where Spike gave the jewel to Rarity, gave that fire gem to Rarity, or that fire heart to Rarity. At the end, as they're falling through the sky, he basically finally in a sense confesses to Rarity how he feels. But the thing is, just as he's getting started in doing so, she hushes him with a hoof, with tears in her eyes. She basically acknowledges that she's already known, and that she's cool with it, and that she accepts it. She accepts the fact that she knows. She accepts that the fact that he has a crush on her, and maybe vice versa. But the point is, Rarity has grown as a character to the point that someone like her, when you first see her, she wouldn't give someone like Spike the time of day or anything. She wouldn't do that. But yet, here she did. She gave him the time of day. She gave him the time of day almost every time they were around. She acknowledged it. Even fans through the webcomics and the webcomics and film fictions, as they call it, have acknowledged this as well, and they've basically built upon it. They've built upon it. They're like, yes, this has potential, because like I said, if Rarity was anything that people originally thought her to be, her character wouldn't have given Spike the time of day. She would have just scoffed him off. But that wasn't the case. It was not the case. And the fact that she hushes him as soon as he's starting to tell her how he feels, it's basically the fact when she does that, it basically tells Spike and the audience she's already known. She's known about it almost since day one. And in a sense, she kind of not only acknowledges that, but she reciprocates it and gives it back to him. She, in other words, acknowledges, yes, she knows, and that in fact, she also feels the same way about him, in a sense. And again, if she was anything that people originally thought she would be when they first saw her, she wouldn't have given a character like Spike the time of day. Nor would she tolerate someone like Pinkie Pie anytime they were paired up. She wouldn't tolerate someone like Pinkie Pie, every time they were paired up. Or even give someone like Pinkie Pie the time of day. But yet, you take a look at the gift of the Mod Pie. You take a look at Spice Up Your Life. You take a look at all this, and and you want to talk about character growth as far as the other main six go, being paired up with them. She shows it here. She shows it every time she's teamed up with some of the members of the team. Pinkie Pie is a good example because, as a lot of people have pointed out, Rarity can basically be herself, and Pinkie's cool with it. And in turn, Rarity can help Pinkie out if she ever feels down. As a matter of fact, if you look at Gift of the Mod Pie, she even goes as far as to imitate Pinkie to make her realize who she is. And in fact, you want to know how much of character growth and personality that Rarity has gone through. She even gets shocked and upset at the fact that Pinkie gave up her party cannon and to get a gift for her sister. Or, if you look at the end of the episode, how touched Rarity is when both Maud and Pinkie decide to add Rarity into the annual yearly sister gift exchange deal. So it's not just a gift exchange between both Maud and Pinkie, now it's a three-way gift exchange between Maud, Pinkie, and Rarity, which is pretty cool. In other words, Rarity becomes like an honorary sister. And then you take a look at someone like Applejack. Yeah, the style is diverse with the two, but it's the friendship that they have together. True, both may not understand how the other feels about certain things, but at least in a sense they are there to kind of help each other out, be each other's foil, if you will. For example, simple ways. Let's go back to Rarity being manipulated. Both Rarity ends up having a crush on this new pony that's kind of a country pony, if you will, coming into town. I think he's also famously known. I'm not really sure. And so what does Rarity do to kind of try to win this pony's admiration or his affection? She allows herself to be manipulated by that. So what does Rarity do? She allows the manipulation of being of the attraction to this character, to this new pony. She allows herself through this attraction, this crush that she has on this pony, to manipulate her into acting like somebody she's not. And it takes Applejack, who this pony that Rarity has a crush on, who's starting to crush on Applejack. It takes Applejack changing herself over into Apple Jewel to wake Rarity up and make her realize you don't have to act this way to try to impress another. So when it comes to Rarity and being paired up with Applejack, they help each other out. They kind of, in a sense, even though they may not be a Pinkie Pie Rarity kind of pairing, they kind of balance each other out because they help each other realize that they don't have to be a certain way or they have to do a certain thing to make things a success. Another good example of this is what's the episode? It's the episode where they go to Manhattan, and even though it's the two of them and Applejack has been there, it's Rarity that kind of helps Applejack adjust a little bit to the city life, as well as allows Applejack to as well as kind of compromises with Applejack on how to get certain things accomplished, or at least try to get certain things accomplished. For example, Applejack compromises with Rarity. Hey, you and Coco Pamel take care of the dresses. I'll take care of this because this is more my style. Fixing the park and all that. And it's a compromise. They both, all three, all three compromise this, while Rarity paired up with Applejack compromised this. Another thing that connects the two as well is the fact that they both realize, oh crap, at the same time we're on this mission, we're going to miss the Sister Hooves social, which is a huge annual event in Ponyville, mostly around the Apple Family Acres and mostly around the Apple Family Farm. And it's something they like to do with the younger sisters. And this year, I guess, would have been more special, would have been just as special because they would have been pairing off. I mean, not only going up against each other, but they'd be also going up against one of the other best friends in Rainbow Dash as well. So basically, all three Cutie Mark Crusaders would be with a sister of some sort. And that's the bond they have there. And it's a bond that actually was created in the second season. Another thing that kind of helps them play off each other is the fact that both like to surprisingly have a spa day, and they sometimes plan to have a spa day together. And they try to compromise how they can make it work, even if they have to compromising either. Basically they try to compromise how can they get it to work, and sometimes they compromise by either trying to, in Applejack's case, going a day without doing the chores on the farm, which a day wouldn't really hurt, or Rarity shutting down her boutique for the day in Ponyville, or both at the same time. That'd be the only way they could work it out, but they do try. And at the end of the episode that this is involved in, I can't think of the name right now, they find a way to compromise in the end. The point is, Rarity does play off well with the other members. She really does. In her own unique ways. And yeah, Rarity, like I said, Rarity can be the victim of her own, of being manipulated herself. She can be the victim of acting immature and throwing tantrums. But it takes certain moments like those to make her wake up and realize that's not who she is. This is not what she's supposed to do. And she has to focus on being who she really is, and basically remember that she represents the element of generosity and that generous ponies or creatures would never act this way. Like I said, it takes certain moments to snap her out of it, like Silver Quill says. He says in his after the fact video on her. So is Rarity a perfect pony in the main six? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Neither one of the main six are perfect, let's be honest. But has she become one of the more beloved, if not fan favorite characters? Definitely. Because again, she's a character because her character has gone through something that a character like her, when you first see them, you wouldn't expect to go through. And that's true character development. And I don't think any other character has gone through that more so than she has in the series. Except for maybe Rainbow Dash. Now, Rainbow Dash is still the same old Rainbow Dash she was from the first season. And there are several points, as Brony Notion has pointed out, to where she has kind of proven that, she has proven on certain moments throughout the seasons that she's definitely the pony of loyalty, that she was worthy of the element of loyalty. But here's the thing with Rainbow Dash, though. Even though she has proven to be loyal, she's also shown to have a bit of an ego. She has. In the first several seasons, she has proven this. And at times, like Rarity, it takes certain moments or help from other ponies, like her friends, to snap her out of it, to bring her back to reality. Because if they don't, she's going to fall off a cliff and now have no way of flying back up, if you know what I'm saying. But when it comes to character development, when it comes to Rainbow Dash has definitely grown as a character. In fact, a lot of people have pointed out that in recent seasons, she's been written to be more balanced, more mature than she was previously. Why? Well, here are a few reasons. In the middle of the series, she started to focus more on trying to achieve her goal of being a Wonderbolt. Why? Because she looked up to them. And yes, she would fangirl over them. But to her surprise, it was always them that wanted her on the squad because of what she had accomplished as part of the main six, and so forth. So for her to try to achieve that goal was a big thing. And yes, again, it did kind of challenge her ego, but it took her friends and even members of the Wonderbolts, like let's say Spitfire, for example, and Soren, to snap her out of it. And it was through these moments where she had to be snapped out of it that she started to grow as a character. She really did. Now, true, does she still show traits of being a little immature at times, a little egotistic even now? Absolutely. But it's not as bad as it used to be because of the fact that she's being allowed to mature as a character. She's showing more loyalty than she ever has, in a sense. It may not show, but it's there. If you want a true test of loyalty, especially as friends, if not sisters, go, what about parental guidance? True, she wasn't happy at the fact that Scootaloo had basically exposed the fact that she had become a Wonderbolt to her parents, but it took Scootaloo to snap her out of this anger, this resentment she had for her parents, to make her realize that what they had been doing since she was a filly was something that no other parents, not even Scootaloo's, and who knows what her parents are, had ever done, and that's encourage her, be proud of moments in her life that even if they're so insignificant, the parents are enthusiastic about it. They're proud of her. I mean, heck, when Rainbow Dash gets angry with them in the episodes, they're happy there too. They're proud of her and who she is and what she's accomplished, no matter how bad it may be. And again, you want a proof of loyalty. She basically takes Scootaloo aside and tells her the reason why she felt resentment to her parents, why she never went to her parents and said, hey, I've become a Wonderbolt. Because basically ever since she was a filly or a foil, about Scootaloo's age, every time she had a contest or she was involved in something, and she would either place last, fifth, third, or even first, it just kept getting, the cheering and all that and the adulation just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, if not worse and worse and worse. But basically it's Rainbow Dash's loyalty as a sister, if you will, to Scootaloo that makes her realize that she has to be truthful with Scootaloo as to why there's this resentment. And it takes Scootaloo to snap her out of it and make her realize, hey, I would die to have something like that myself. I would die to have something like that in my life as well. Because basically what she's saying is because basically what Scootaloo's saying to snap Rainbow Dash out of it and make her remember that she's supposed to be the pony of loyalty is the fact that her family possessed that from the beginning. That her family was always loyal to her no matter what. Her parents were always loyal to her no matter what she did. No matter where she placed in any competition, her parents were always encouraging her, were always there for her. And those are moments that even nowadays just have to snap Rainbow Dash back to reality and to maturity and help her grow a little bit more as a character because of the fact that she forgets, oh yeah, this is why I'm the pony of loyalty. This is why I got the element of loyalty. Because of the fact that my family was loyal and they were always there for me. And like I said, it takes a character and it takes moments like that from someone like Scootaloo to snap her out of it and make her realize that she shouldn't have been so angry with her family and that she should accept the fact that, yeah, they may be over enthusiastic about things I do, but it's because they're proud of me and they're showing their loyalty to me and everything. That's why they're doing it. And again, like I said, it takes certain characters to snap her out of it. It takes certain characters to bring her back to that reality. But then again, you take a look at other moments where she's proven her loyalty on her own. She's proven her loyalty on her own. How does she do this? She either has proven it by coaching other ponies like Scootaloo or Biceps or Fluttershy up. And she does it, yes, sometimes a little intimately, but in time she tones it down and then basically encourages them to do better. She basically says, this is what you need to do. She coaches them up. She shows loyalty by being there for them. She shows that loyalty. See, by always being there for those she has to coach up, encourage, or whatever. The point is, Rainbow Dash may have may not be the most mature. As a matter of fact, if you think about it, as crazy as it sounds, if you want to go by age range, in a sense, people may say, well, Pinky might be the youngest. No. If you go by age range, here's how it would go. Fluttershy and here's how it would go. Applejack and Rarity would be the oldest. Fluttershy and Twilight would be second oldest. Pinky would be like right behind Twilight, and Rainbow Dash would be the youngest, just because of her, like her maturity level. Like it's growing and she's realizing certain things, and she's maturing and realizing who she really is and what she has to do on a loyalty level and a friendship level. But the point is she still has a lot of maturing to go, that she's the youngest out of the main six. Which is why it takes, like I say, characters it takes her friends, like in the Masked Marauder, I think, the Masked Marauder, to snap her out of it, to make her realize, hey, you can't act like this just because you can do special things. You got to be more mature about it. You got to be more down to earth about it. So overall, when I look at characters like Rainbow Dash and Rarity, I say that they have grown, that in the past 6.5 seasons, their characters have grown substantially as in personality and growth, that they have really, the development of their characters has grown in such a substantial way that whether you like them or you didn't like them at first, you have now grown to respect, if not love them. And yes, when it comes to the characters, they still have a lot of growing to go. They still have a lot of maturing to go. Rarity, maybe not as much, but Rainbow Dash still has a little bit more because, like I say, from an age perspective, I think she's the youngest. So, but overall, I have to say that when I look at both characters, I have to basically, I got to say it, I think both characters have grown substantially as characters in the development and in the growth, and I think I believe that their characters will only get better over time. So that's all I could say. Thank you all for listening, and I'm sorry this went for a long time. This went for about it's going on about 40 minutes. So I do appreciate you guys listening and everything, but those are just my thoughts. And in a sense, a reply to both Brony Ocean and Silver Quill, who I know are probably both at BronyCon this weekend, and I wish them all the best of luck this week and weekend over there, and all the fun they will have. But like I said, that's, to me, I look at someone like these two characters, and to me, depending on how you feel about them now or even then when they first appeared, you have to admit that development-wise, they have grown. That character development-wise, they have grown substantially. True, Rainbow may still have a little bit more growing and maturing to do. Not as much for Rarity, but still there's plenty of time that before the series even ends, which I don't think will be until another 2.5 years. I definitely say that they can, like I said, they can only get better in time. And I think anybody watching this would definitely agree that they will just get better in time. And as far as love interests go, let's just hope that the writers give us a Sparity moment and maybe a Soren Dash moment. That's all we can ask for. So let me know what you guys think down below. I'll talk to you all later.